Hello, everybody. I'm Chris,
My name's Johnny.
and we are the number one entrance when it comes to the entertainment world of sports entertainment. Welcome to the inaugural episode of our podcast. A little bit about what we're going to be doing here general podcast stuff, probably some quizzes down the line, maybe an EFED if we get everything set up. But today, we are going to be fantasy booking an AEW WWE Forbidden pay per view. Forbidden Door pay per view. I can't talk. But essentially, Johnny's got a list of 16 matches over a 2 night event, and I have a list of my own. And we basically went on the idea of anybody that is active slash semi active. So on current rosters, whether they're injured or not, we're kind of in the idea of like assuming everyone on the rosters is healthy,
Mhm.
along with the idea of basically I don't know
If
about you, but I tried to stick away from a lot of legends
I
and
I
like
have well, I think because we talked about this before, I stuck
yeah,
with within the last year they have wrestled at least once
yes,
or twice. So they
yes,
technically current, but not really have to be super current. Mostly because I just wanted one wrestler in particular, and I'm
yeah.
pretty sure you all may know who that is already.
Yeah. So do you want to kick off? Do we want to go one and
We
one
can
back,
go
like
back
basically
and
night one,
forth.
back and
Yeah, we
forth?
can go back and forth. Yeah.
All right.
I will say this to start off the entire show, to kick it off. We've got a battle of the Bullet Club.
I
We've
had
got
this idea too.
we've got Switchblade, Jay White going up against probably the most phenomenal star to grace wrestling, AJ Styles. I looked this up,
Hmm.
never crossed paths.
Really?
At least I don't believe in New Japan. And
That's crazy.
I was like, I need to see this. I need this in my blood because AJ Styles is a veteran in every sense of the word.
Oh yeah.
And Jay White has come so far so quickly.
Hmm.
And I just think the styles would match very well. That's not a pun. It can be. And I just think those two, even if you give them light mic work or even just a little bit like a 5 minute promo on each
Yeah.
side, I think they would make magic, and I just think the in-ring ability of both stars would be fantastic. But I will say this, and I don't know if you're picking winners. I think Jay White would take this, and I think he would win.
That's fair. I didn't pick winners, but I could probably do it down the line for most of
That
this.
that is fair.
The other thing to note with it, the other idea we had with this was essentially if there were pairings of people that in current storyline aren't together,
Yeah.
the build to the pay per view would allow for it. So like
Yes.
I didn't
So
end up using this idea, but the idea of like if you wanted to build a tag match with the Mysterios in the same side, despite Dom and Ray currently,
yeah, you could. And I will say, I believe I have both of them on this card as well. But
I have
you did.
one of them. That was correct. I will say before I get into my first one, I have two honorable mentions I didn't use for because I used the wrestlers in other matches.
That's fair.
So my honorable mentions is Osprey versus Rollins, mostly because that is a match Osprey has
Okay.
said he wants to do,
Okay.
and I think
Mhm.
Osprey Rollins would cook. The other one is part of your match with a few other people, which was essentially a fatal four-way of former Bullet Club leaders. So Kenny,
God.
AJ, Finn Balor, Jay White.
I do think I don't even have Osprey on this card. I'm now realizing that.
You know what's
Because
funny?
like
I do, because guess what? Night one opening match, Will Ospreay versus Randy Orton, baby.
oh, okay, okay.
God, I think
I
that'd
can
be
guess
so
the
fun.
finish here, but who's to say?
I think it'd be so fun to run Osprey Orton, man.
It's
And
one of
like,
those things where I know Osprey is not as much of a veteran as Randy is, but I think they would give such a good match. They would
oh my
work
god.
hard. Osprey would do some flippy shit that would probably lead to an RKO though.
That's the thing. So most of my booking is I have one or two spots in my head of what would happen, or it's people that I think would work well. But
Yeah.
even not just the flippy stuff, right? Because obviously Osprey's got a lot of high flyer repertoire that would work. And like obviously the cutter would be a huge one because a cutter into an
Oh,
RKO would be clean. But
yeah.
you could even, I think, if you set it up right, that fucking the hidden blade, like that elbow bash he does.
Oh
If Randy
yeah.
was set up right, he could spring up just enough to reverse that, and I think that would be so clean if
That
you could pull that off.
would be incredible.
It would be so good. So that's my opener. What do you got for match 2 though?
Match 2, you may be hearing double when I say this. Give me Ray versus Ray. Give me
Stereo
Mysterio
and
versus
Phoenix.
Phoenix.
Hell
Give
yeah.
me just a high-flying acrobatic show that they don't even touch the ground.
Yeah,
Like
honestly.
you will see springboard after springboard, tope after tope. You will get a true luchador dance in the center of this ring, and I just think I don't want to keep leaning towards one side with this, but I will say I do think Phoenix takes this one.
That's
But
fair.
I think it's you give them maybe even hypothetically just give them 10 minutes. They could work gold in that
Oh
ring.
yeah. I wonder if those two did. I guess this raises a
They
different question. Did I was
they
gonna say in Lucha Underground? Yeah.
either in Lucha Underground or Rey Mysterio, I believe, was at the first All In. I don't
This
know if
is
they
right.
wrestled each other, but I know they have definitely had to cross paths at one point.
Yeah, absolutely. So my second match, I'm rocking a women's tag match. Give me Chris Statlander and Willow Nightingale versus the Kabuki Warriors. So Asuka
Ooh.
and Kyrie.
Those are two wrestlers I don't have on my card. I do not have Stat or Willow. I am a little disappointed now I didn't think about Willow because I have a match and I have match idea now, but
I think it'd be fun as well because like just the four of them together would be really interesting. I think
yeah.
it's a very like mixed blend of styles,
Mhm.
but I think it would work really well. I think it'd be a lot of fun with it. I originally had a different pairing. Yeah, I had. They'll show up later. I had Sheeta and Riho versus Kabuki Warriors, and I ended up flipping it because I was like, I think Stat Willow would work a little better. But
I like that. I like that a lot. I think again, we need representation with women's wrestling, even if it's
100%,
hypothetical. And I
100%.
think women's wrestling right now, if you were to, you could probably do again because I know we only saw this one time, another women's pay per view. I think it would cook. It's easy
Yeah,
to book because women's wrestling has come so far, and I think we're at the peak and pinnacle right now. Is the biggest thing in the world.
I mean that was one of the big things Britt talked about at one point. Is at some point she wants an all women's blood and guts match.
I think it could work.
Uh,
There is no separation in
no,
terms of talent anymore, in terms of what they want to do and what they can do.
mm-hmm.
If they want to take a bump where they land on thumbtacks, let them. It's something I never want to do, but if
Yeah,
it's
no,
something someone else in wrestling wants to do, so be it. Go
yeah,
ahead.
no, 100%. All right,
Because I mean, I'm sorry, just real quick. We've already gotten full women's war games matches.
yeah,
What is the difference in terms of blood and guts? Like it's the same
yeah.
thing, but more bloody.
and
Go
and
for it.
especially looking at an AEW side of things, not so much, because I know WWE is not really the deathmatch blend,
Yeah. Mhm.
but like especially in AEW, like Willow and Stat did a street fight. Willow and Ruby had arguably one of the most insane street fights I've ever
They
seen.
And then you also have I think this might have been before your time. Thunder Rosa versus Britt.
Yep, the
That's the
cage
infamous
match.
Britt blood shot that you it's for
Yeah,
her it's like one of her best shots.
yeah. So it's
That
like that there, Rosa, Willow, Britt, and Stat is almost half a blood and guts. You could even run a 4v4 blood and guts
yeah, it
if
doesn't
there were
have to be
only
5-5. It's like
yeah. And it's like, you know, grab those four, hate her if she's healthy, grab like honestly you grab a lot of the OGs. I think it'd be the best way to do
yeah,
that is grab as many like year one, year two women on the card. So
yeah.
grab like, Ty Mello when she's back, get Anna J, right? And get like the OG women, I think would
Yeah.
be really fun for that.
Because I think they deserve it. Like it just
100%.
fully. Will we ever see it? I don't know, Tony. I don't know.
He said this is the year that he's going to put more focus on women's matches. So we'll see.
Yeah.
that reminds me, slightly off topic. Anytime Maple and I watch together, she times the women's matches and she's adding them all up to see
Yeah,
at the
they
end of the
do.
year.
She does, yeah. And it is depressing because we'll be in the call guessing the times, and it is getting to a point where we're getting close, and not in a good way.
No.
I want us to be over by minutes. I don't want us to be within a minute, or our predictions are over the actual time.
Yeah, overshooting. Yeah,
It is sad. And I was like, oh,
yeah,
I want to be right, but I don't want to be right when it's like 8 minutes.
yeah. It's like, oh, I got it exactly right. That's sad.
All
All right,
right.
what you got for number
We're
3?
gonna go with, I think, someone who's proved themselves in AEW so far. Via an up and comer who I think is gonna have a real sticking point, staying point in wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
And I think these two could put together a really good match. Give me Darby Allin versus up and comer Carmelo Hayes.
This is the
I
moment I realize I don't have Darby on this card.
I
Ooh.
put Darby out there because I was like, it was one of those things where I was like, do I want to run Darby and Sting? But I don't want to put Sting on the card because I think it'd be predictable. Again, the hypothetical who's going to win thing, I
Yeah.
think they would win.
Oh yeah.
I think Darby, the human fucking wrecking ball,
Yeah.
plain and simple, will run through drywall if needed just for a bit. He's also
Mm-hmm.
done other things in the past for a bit that have just been horrible. And I think Hayes, he has been so good in NXT. He is going to be main roster bound very soon, fully. And I just think both styles meld very well.
Mm-hmm.
I think high flying meets physical meets, hey, do you want to do this spot that's dangerous? Sure. And that's the best
Yeah.
part.
No, absolutely.
And I no, go ahead.
I was gonna say, I think another fun one, if you were gonna run Darby, I don't know why, but Darby versus Braun Breaker sounds like a
Ooh,
great time.
that's a good call. I don't have Braun on this, but I kind of wish I did now, because
I
this is the biggest
I put
discussion we're
Braun.
gonna have, is like who's gonna be left off and for what reason, or just
Yeah.
16 matches is like a lot, but it's not a lot.
Yeah. Like the other thing as well is because that's the thing of, I know you and I talked a little bit about it, of how we tried to avoid a lot of the, like, the WWE guys that are in AEW, because it's like we've
What we've
seen
seen
those
before.
matches. So it's like trying to grab like homegrown or, gathered from outside of the WWE,
Yeah.
sphere of
So
influence.
spoilers ahead. You're not going to see Danielson. You're not going to see Claudio. I will
Yeah.
just, or you're not even going to see Adam Copeland or Christian.
Yeah.
Not that because we didn't want to put them on the list, but it's like we've seen this. We literally, Copeland's last run, he did a lot of wrestling matches against top tier talent in WWE. So
Yeah. All right. So this will surprise no one who knows me, but I do have Dark Order on the card.
that's fine. I'm okay with this. I'm not going to argue
Yeah.
putting Dark Order on the
Oh,
card.
I know. It's just funny when I'm realizing like I left Darby out, but I brought Dark Order in, and I'm like, there is definitely some bias living in this.
Yeah.
Um,
That Dark Order supremacy, I get it. Yeah.
yeah, dude, absolutely. I want them to have any shred of a push, but that's another conversation for another time. But no, I
Probably
got Dark Order versus Alpha Academy.
that is a comedy match that I would like to see.
Gable
Comedy
Otis
match,
and
it
Gable
could
Otis
be
and Tozawa.
comedy plus it could work. They could go.
Yeah. Well, because I think, and the thing I love about Dark Order is that tandem offense they do, where it's like the step up into Zagiri, into the power bomb, into this, and like that whole thing. And the
Yeah.
idea of Otis being the one in the middle of that would make
Oh,
them look so
God.
strong.
Just I also would love to see, like, I don't know why, but Otis like hitting the worm on Evil Uno, or just John Silver, like that thing, that'd be hilarious.
Yeah. Well, and that's the best part, right? Because like when I was like, I want to put Dark Order, but I'm like, there are not a lot of trios in WWE. There's a
Yeah.
lot of like, it's either you're a tag team or you're a stable of like 5+. So like, there's
Mhm.
very few 3-man groups. Like I know, what is it? Lashley's got, what is it? The Pride is what they're called right now.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's one, but I'm like, and then I saw Alpha Academy and I went, you've got kind of pretty good size comparisons. Because Gable and Silver are like small and compact. Then you've
Yeah.
got Gable and Silver, and then you have like Tozawa and Reynolds are a little more comparable size, and then
Mhm.
Otis and Uno. So it's like you literally have, the small, strong, compact one, not skinny, but more slender, a little bit taller, and then your beefy boy.
All of
And I'm like, it's
all of this
perfect.
does make the most sense. I will say this. Like, I appreciate you letting me know, like, because honest to God, it does make sense. Is the biggest
Mhm.
thing. It's not like it's like they're just two comedy
Yeah,
tandem. It does make sense. They do
yeah,
have similar builds, and it would work.
yeah. Because like, and even like the idea of like Gable hitting Otis with those insane power bomb or the suplexes that he has, man, like
Yeah,
would be oh fantastic.
fantastic. Now, I do have another match, of course. It features a star that I hope gets pushed to the moon versus a guy that just kind of exists for me in my heart. Give me Wardlow versus Trick Williams. I think these
Ooh,
are just two beefy men, and to quote Biggie, just give me two men slapping meat.
big meaty
Just
men
hit
slapping
each
meat,
other.
baby.
Just give me big meaty men slapping meat. I don't care how many power bombs we see, or scoop slams, or press slams. I just want something that's just like at the end of the match, maybe like a jackhammer suplex finishes it. But I wanted
Yeah,
to be like tired and exhausted, but I want them to show that they will beat each other up
yeah.
and just have one of the big man matches that we used to get back in the day, but we don't really get anymore. It's not because they're boring; it's just because there's not that many big men around
Hmm.
anymore in wrestling. It's not a
Oh,
bad
but
thing.
I'll tell you right now, I found 4 big men to put into one match, but that's later down the line.
But yeah, I just think it'd be a really good match, and it would give Wardlow the exposure I think he needs, and you would
Yeah.
just again that spotlight on Trick Williams.
No,
Both
absolutely.
fantastic talents.
So you're gonna see very quickly that there are a lot of chunks of time where it's like, men's match, women's match, men's match, women's match. Because as I was going through and building out everything, and I was just putting the matches I knew I wanted, I looked and I'm like, I haven't booked a women's match, and I want to be better than Tony Khan. So I like panic built
Oh,
like, all right, how do we even this
Chris,
out a little bit better?
Chris, how
Um,
could you just wait for night two? But how could you, Chris?
yeah. Um, no, my fourth match, night one, and I don't know why I put these two together to be honest with you, but I think it would still be a really really fun match. Maybe Bianca Belair versus Thunder Rosa. Like it, I don't know, man. Something about it seems real interesting to me.
I love this match and I hate this match. I love this match because it's a really good match. I hate this match because I didn't think of this match. This is a really good match.
Right? Like, you know, like you've got two people going into this match as former champions that have an insane amount of fight in them.
Oh my god.
And also, like, the entrances would be fantastic because Rosa in her pay per view gear would be, oh,
I am so annoyed by this match because it's just it would work.
yeah,
It would also be two women who like have that go. Like
yeah,
they will just be like, all right, bell rings. The first 7 minutes of this match are already planned out
yeah,
to the point it's like back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, making Bianca look strong as hell, making Thunder Rosa's technical abilities look stylish, nice, and it would just be great.
hmm
And then you would have like the comedy stuff just a little bit that you kind of get with like Thunder being in the ring and Bianca just being Bianca is the biggest thing.
and there, and I think that's one thing that's so great about Bianca as a performer as well is the gimmick of the hair adds to
Yeah.
insane spots at times. I
Oh,
mean,
it
even look at the
does.
Rumble.
Yeah.
Look at how the Rumble ended this year.
Mhm.
Like, you don't get that without that being part of it.
Yeah, because I think you look at Mercedes Moné versus Bianca.
Hmm.
One of the spots in that match was her finally taking her hair and whipping them,
Yeah,
like straight up
yeah,
hitting them, and you see that mark that they left. It's like this is incredible because like I love the fact that like this was a part of the story, but it was a big part of the story, and they finally utilize it to prove it's not just hair. It's a weapon, and I loved it so much.
yeah, yeah.
Okay, let's see. What do we have for the next
Match
match?
5.
Ah, yes. This is where, and I hate to say it, Johnny didn't have a women's match up to this point. So I was like,
Get him. No.
who is two talents that I could put in a ring together? They could have a banger. And I'm pretty sure I'm not certain about this because my Stardom lore doesn't run as deep. Give me Io Sky
Okay.
versus Hikaru Shida. Give me
Oh,
two former I Know Japan talents. I know that for certain. That
yeah,
could give me a very technical match. That will hit moonsaults, will
yeah.
do stupid shit because that's what Io Sky does. And then
Hmm.
at the end of the day, I think it would work. I think these two need more exposure. I understand Io's champion currently, but
Hmm.
she's with damage control and doesn't get the full like. This is what she can truly do. It's like
Yeah,
they're in a stable, and Sheeta's Sheeta.
yeah,
Sheeta was one of the longest tenured women's champions in AEW. She had, I think, she was the first to 50 wins for women, or just in general. And when she's on TV, she will put her fucking heart into every single match, even if it's
yeah.
against someone who doesn't want to do the match.
Hmm.
I've seen the matches in the past with AEW. It's kind of obvious when people don't want to do the match, and it's a bummer. But
I
I
mean,
think these two would meld well together. I
yeah,
know I use that a lot, but I think you're in there with a dance partner is the biggest thing for
yeah,
wrestling, and I think these two could do great things together.
yeah. All right. I need you to play along here for a minute with me.
Okay.
Picture it. Center of the ring.
Hmm.
Not a damn soul in the actual ring.
Yeah.
But on from hard cam, right side of the ropes, an individual. On the left hand side, near the ropes, the other individual. As we get dueling buckshot lariats in a Logan Paul versus Hangman Adam Page Texas death match.
Okay. Okay. I'm okay with this
I
because
oh man.
okay, okay. This is episode 1 of what I really do hope is going to be a long series of things.
Hmm.
We hate Logan Paul here with a passion. I think he's a disgusting human being. I don't think he should be in wrestling. He is in wrestling, unfortunately. And the worst part, not the worst part, one of the most terrible
The
parts,
annoying part.
the really annoying part, he's really fucking good.
He's so good in the ring for how
He's
little time he has spent doing it.
he is also good on the mic, but I also just think it's because he's an asshole in real life and he takes from reality and it shifts it into wrestling.
I think part of that as well is, he's spent his entire career
Yeah,
talking.
it's
So
like
that
this. He's
part
in front of the
is
camera.
easy.
He's doing this is the biggest
Yeah.
thing. It's like you hate to see it because like if he was garbage, I'm like okay, he's gone. He did his silly little appearance and he's gone. He is currently the United States
He
champion.
sure
He's doing
fucking is.
well, and it's like ugh. But
So
no,
the thing
I
the
want you to
the
elaborate on this match a little
the
bit.
thing for me, again, like I said, a lot of this was booked on there were certain spots and moments in mind. And I think about him and Ricochet at last year's Rumble, where it's the springboards to the middle, which is
Ooh, okay.
gorgeous. But the idea of that almost that same setup, Logan on one side, Hangman on the other. And he's like, that whole like, you want a piece of me? And then they flip in, and it's literally like that might even be the finish, is literally the two of them collide, and it's like a double count. Like
And
it's
like
the
maybe
the
either a
arms
double
draped.
count or it's like and they fall. Like whoever
Yeah.
falls on whoever.
Yeah.
I'm okay with this. I think that would really be good, and I think you would push the limitations of both men
The
in a positive
other
sense.
the other thing is I want it to be a Texas death match for the idea of I want to see, because Logan has only wrestled WWE style matches, which are,
Yeah.
while not bad, tame compared to
I
what AEW does. So I want to see how far does the willingness go, is my
I will
curiosity.
also say I think because he doesn't wrestle TV is the biggest thing. I don't think he's ever
No.
wrestled SmackDown or Raw. I think his matches are also highly choreographed. Also,
Yes.
keep in mind for those who are unaware of this, wrestling is choreographed and it is
What?
predetermined.
No.
I know. But I think his matches are very choreographed because he has had appearances by many of his podcast friends, YouTube friends, or whatever.
Yeah.
So I imagine a lot of his stuff is very forehand. That being said, a lot of the stuff he does, you can't plan for.
No.
and I hate it. I genuinely hate him, and I'm like, stop being good, please stop it.
Yeah, I'm so painfully good at separating art from artist on so many things. That's why,
No,
like, even after everything that happened with Punk back in AEW, like here's the thing, right? People fucking hated him after Brawlout. I still had the photo that somebody did off of Twitter of him holding the belt after he won it at Double or Nothing. That was my lock screen up until like 2 weeks ago. And the
fair.
reason why for me, part of that's because Double or Nothing was my first ever pay-per-view for wrestling. So it's like there was sentiment there. But the other big thing was, unfortunately for me, it's like CM Punk is a good wrestler. Phil Brooks is a piece of shit.
Phil
And
Brooks
it's
is a piece of shit.
and it's like being able to separate that is a skill and a curse, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Right.
There's a lot of things people could say is like, oh, but Phil Brooks does support this. Phil Brooks is a kind individual when it comes to certain things. I will say this because I support this. Chris supports this.
Mm-hmm.
CM Punk supports this. Trans rights are human rights. This is the biggest
Yes,
thing.
100%.
This goes around on the internet because there's several photos. Punk, I think Hangman, I know Omega, and they're
Yeah.
like, but he's a good person. It's like you can support good things, but still be a garbage person.
And even if you
That's
want
the
to
biggest thing.
extrapolate it further, it's like he is a human that respects human rights. As a human in a business, he is a
Yeah,
piece of shit.
yeah.
But
Because it's not great. But you know,
I mean, I still got him on this fucking card too. So
yeah. See you next year. See you next year, Phil.
yeah.
See you at 41, I guess.
God, man, I don't know how that's gonna play out. I still stand. I
Uh,
still stand by the statement that him and Rollins are just gonna have a fight in the hospital beds. It's gonna be like when Austin.
probably.
It's like when Austin went after Vince.
Now, speaking of fighting each other in a hospital, this isn't where this is going to take place. But are you ready to see two madmen just beat the piss out of each other? Now, I want you to close your eyes.
Eyes are closed.
You got a Mad King versus someone who would fucking kill Steen. Kill. Give me Eddie Kingston versus Kevin Owens.
Oh my god.
Give me two guys
The
that'll
Mad
just
King versus the Prize Fighter, man.
yeah. Give me the
Oh, that'd be fun.
give, give me and this doesn't even have to be Eddie's titles on the line. I just think this entire rivalry could be sparked by either Owens saying something bad about Kingston, or they just accidentally bump into each other backstage, stare at each other for like
Yeah.
10 seconds, and it's just fucking go.
Yeah, it's like literally that match would get booked on the same way that like old like cartoons were, where like they're like tapping the bombs with a hammer.
Yeah.
Like it's the same amount of validity to it.
Like I think it would be either Owens or it would be Kingston that would just say, "See you out there," and then 10
Yeah,
minutes later or whatever, they're just doing that spot where they're just hitting each other, hitting each other, hitting each other, hitting each other,
yeah.
and they don't stop. Because I know, like that's what I think they would do.
You know what's really funny?
Hmm.
You and I have Eddie in the same slot.
Oh my
Only
god.
difference is I have a different opponent for him.
Oh.
I have so because one of the things Eddie is known for in terms of that, one of his most used things is those like rapid fire chops in the corner, like the pop 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 pop. Right.
I think I know where this is headed. Okay.
I want speed. Not that they're weak hits, but I want speed versus power, which is 10 chops from Eddie versus 1 chop from Gunther.
Oh my god. I'm okay
I
with this.
I those two would walk into that match, and by the time the bell rang, there would not be a red spot on either chest, guaranteed. But I also like the build for this from a story perspective of you've got you've got the Mad King from Yonkers, who is just like inspired by like old school Japanese wrestling, and like
Mhm.
all of like his heroes come from New Japan or all Japan, versus the head of a group that is trying to bring purity back to wrestling and
Yeah.
making it a technical fight. And Eddie fucking hates technical wrestlers, basically. Not
I would
actual, but kayfabe, right? Like him and Danielson have had numerous feuds, him and Claudio. I mean,
yeah.
Eddie in the Combat Club, minus Mox, is 80s one-man war against technical wrestlers.
I will say this. I also think the way Eddie carries himself and Gunther, I think Gunther would just find Eddie like repulsive and just not care for
Yeah,
him at all.
100%. 100%.
He's like, this is how you carry yourself, especially as a champion. Like,
Yeah, if Eddie's rolling into a Forbidden Door with the Triple Crown, the modern American Triple Crown, and Gunther sat here with the longest reigning IC title, he would be
yeah,
like, "You're out of your fucking mind that you have
it's
three
like this
belts.
is
Not a
you
chance."
carry yourself like this and just like discuss. And Kingston wouldn't take it is the biggest thing, and I would
Because
respect it.
there'd be so many jabs with it too. Because it's a thing of like, if you look at what those three belts are, like Gunther on the mic could literally be like, "You are a world champion for a promotion where you don't yourself fight with honor." Like, you know what I mean? There'd be so many little things he could pick apart from like ROH world title, New Japan open or New Japan heavy open strong or yeah, open
Mhm.
strong title. And then a belt they made to round it out. Like,
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like a belt that
like
means nothing without the other two, essentially.
exactly a belt that only exists because of what he's doing is the
Yeah.
biggest thing.
Oh yeah. Yeah,
Now,
God, it'd be fun.
give me a 30-minute time limit.
Okay.
Give me probably one of the highest budgets in terms of entrances for one side. Give me the face that for about 16 or 17 years ran the place. Give me John Cena
There's your legend.
versus the title collector, the man that ran Japan, the end all, the be all, the finisher that's never been kicked out of, Kenny Omega.
You want Kenny Omega to fight John Cena.
I
You
I
want the
want
oh man.
I want what would essentially be for us the irresistible force meets the immovable
Movable
object.
object, yeah, no
I
doubt.
I will I think this match, I think it would cause Cena to go to his peak. I'm because I also think this is not current day Cena as well. I think if we're going to be doing this, because it can be current day Kenny either because he's hurt. But I
Hmm.
think these two at their peaks, at their primes, and I understand seeing people like, oh, Cena's not the best wrestler. I don't think it would matter. I think he
No.
would find that other gear, and he would want the best match possible with one of the greatest wrestlers of all time.
Yeah.
And I think the promos
Oh
would be
man.
interesting,
The promos would be
mostly
something.
mostly because John Cena would be like good speech kid, and then he would run down like Omega being like nothing for years, and finally finding that gear. Not that Omega wasn't nothing for years, but I think he would do something like that.
Yeah.
And then
The only way you got
I
over was to make your own company kind of vibe. Like
yeah, like you had to go
something.
to here and you had to do this and like
And I mean, you
the
could
only
even
reason
throw shade in the fact that Kenny was in developmental for a while for WWE.
yeah, it's like you couldn't make it here, so you had to go to Japan and join one of these factions that the only reason you got over is because the top guy, Balor, left and you had to
Yeah.
pick up the pieces. I
Yeah,
think it would work.
there'd be so much.
Yeah.
Hey,
And
so
I just think it'd be silly as well.
hey, so there's a lot of people in my next match. You're gonna have to really like pay attention to what we got here because there's a lot of names. So I definitely ran a blood and guts match because of course I did.
Of course, of course.
From AEW side, we have the Murder Hawk Lance Archer,
Ooh.
along with all of the Mogul Embassy. So Swerve, Brian Cage, Bishop Khan, and Toa Leona.
Yeah.
Versus the Franken team of Drew McIntyre, Sheamus, Shinsuke, Kevin Owens, and Solo Sikoa.
Ooh. Oh, I will say this. I would make one change, and this is just me. I would take Solo out. I would put Pete Dunne in.
Valid. I
If
know basically nothing about Pete Dunne, and
I
was like, you know
I
what? I think Solo would still fit in this
this
because
no, this also
honestly,
still
I want
works.
Solo to fight Toa Leona. That's honestly all I
And
want.
that reminds me, I have to pull up a quote, one of my new favorite quotes from today while you're talking about this match.
Yeah, because there'd be so much, man. Like this match would be absurd. I keep trying to wonder who I would want to put in there first. And like I think honestly, give me Swerve and Shinsuke as the first two in.
Ooh,
Because I
okay.
think that on its own, before the chaos of a full
Mhm.
blood and guts match, would be
I'm okay with
ridiculous.
that. I'm okay with that. I will say this to quote one Solo Sokoa who no longer has Twitter. Uh, Call me Hammer Time, cause my style you can't touch. This man today deactivated his Twitter. I will specify this: January 31st, 2024. We were recording this.
Yeah.
He deactivated his Twitter because people were going back and finding his old tweets. Some of them weren't even bad. It's just apparently at one point he was bad at math while in school, and they made fun of him. It was interesting, and someone made a graphic where it's Sola Sokoa versus algebra, and I'm like, you guys need to leave him alone. He's not doing anything today.
Oh man, dude, that is somebody. There are not a lot of people on the WWE roster that I think deserve an insane push. Like,
Hmm.
not that they're not deserving of it, but like the ones that are getting pushed are already being pushed.
Yeah.
Solo is that exception to me. And somebody brought this
Yeah.
up the other day when we were talking wrestling when we were playing Exo Primal, and somebody brought up that I can never remember his name. Jacob Fatu, their other cousin that's in the Indies right now.
Oh, yes. Yeah, yeah.
It's
He
like
was with CMLL.
MLW is doing for Jacob what they wanted to do with Solo, basically.
Yeah.
And
Because
it's
he never
like,
really got time by himself in NXT was the biggest thing.
mhm,
He I think after he's on the main roster, he went back down there and, won the North American title. Or he won the North American title and had to vacate it, which was weird.
yeah,
Because I think if you give that main TV exposure, you might get a few more people watching NXT.
hmm,
Because NXT is a fine product that's doing well for itself, but it still struggles, and I don't think it's going to get any better when it goes to the CW. So
yeah. It's hard to say, right? Because like, there's so much with that. On like, I will say the one thing I do like is at least they have a brand for the up and comers.
yeah.
And I think that is something that AEW really struggles with. I think that is something that shouldn't be relegated to Ring of Honor.
Hmm.
Because that's kind of what it is right now. Is like you'll have a guy come out, they don't really get over that quick, they disappear, and then 8 months later they show up, and it's like they've been killing it in Ring of Honor, and it's like
Yeah.
the Ring of Honor as a promotion has got such a history and a legacy. It shouldn't be, for lack of a better term, diminished down to that. You know what I mean? That's why I'm
Fair.
bummed they don't do Dark anymore. Because Dark was great. Dark was how you got people over. Because a great
I will.
example, Willow.
Yeah. I will say this, and I did notice it a little bit, and it bums me out because I don't like comparing wrestlers. Lance Archer and Omos are the same person. What I mean by that is Lance Archer will come back. He's on TV. He's doing well. He may lose the rivalry he's currently in, and he'll be gone to Japan again.
Yeah.
Omos comes back for big matches, i.e., the Rumble, and he's been back for other matches since then, but then just disappears. And unless they come back, or unless you were, of course, watching New Japan for with Lance Archer, you just don't think of them. You don't.
Mm-hmm.
They're gone from your peripheral. They don't exist anymore. That's at least for me,
Yeah.
because I
Outside
would
out of
forget
mind.
about Lance Archer because it's not that he's not a good, not that he's not a good talent. He does great for himself. I think Jake needs to leave, just because you're getting
Yeah.
up there, buddy. You're traveling is not the best for your health, and it sucks. But I think they need to be featured more if you're going to be like, oh my god, it's this person, because each time it's like,
Yeah.
oh, they're back, they're not going to do anything. It's
Mm-hmm.
predictability at its finest.
Yeah. Honestly. All right. What do you got closing out night one?
Wait, what do you mean? That was 8.
That was 7.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. No, it was 8. Because I skipped a match.
Oh,
I don't know why I skipped a match.
nice.
Hypothetically, we run this back to match 4. Uh, I feel bad because this is a good match for the middle of the card. I wouldn't close out the night with this. Fine, we'll say we close out the night with this. Give me a veteran and a young lad. Give me Powerhouse Hobbs
Okay.
versus someone who was compared to the next big thing a couple years ago. Give me Bobby Lashley. This is
That's a fun
another
match.
big. This is another big men just hitting each other. Just having a fun time. I also think this could be a. If you give Lashley to Hobbs, he could learn a thing or two. Is the
Yeah,
biggest thing because that's
100%.
what Lashley struggled with a bit for when his initial run was. It's like he was good, but now he's great.
Hmm.
I think with Hobbs with Lashley just in a match, I think you can make him good to great.
Yeah.
But we'll have to see is the biggest thing. But yeah, that was definitely supposed to be match 4 and not closing out night 1.
So your actual closing of night 1 is Kenny and Cena.
Would have been Kenny and of course John Cena.
Hell yeah.
I was
So
wondering why was my final match and Chris's final match just a little bit different?
yeah. My final match of night 1 is still very different than just your one-on-one. But
No, I know, but it's like talent wise is the biggest
I
thing.
see. So this is the match, and this is actually the only reason I couldn't run or I couldn't book the idea of the fatal four-way between former Bullet Club
Mm-hmm.
leaders is because I have Finn Balor,
Mm-hmm.
Damian Priest, Dominic
Ooh.
Mysterio, and Rhea Ripley of the Judgment Day versus Buddy Matthews, Brody Lee, Malachi Black, and Julia Hart.
There is deep history there on
There
both
is
sides.
so much, and there is
And
current relationships that are gonna be interesting because the thought for me and the spot in my head is Dom tags in, Buddy tags in, and Rhea steps in front of Buddy and stops him. And then fast forward later into the match, you have Brody holding Dom and like how like literally choking him out the way that Brody did to Darby during the Royal Rumble or the Royal Rampage.
mm-hmm.
And when Rhea goes to stop it, Buddy steps out and blocks Rhea. Like there'd be
Ooh.
so many fun little things you could do with that with the kayfabe couple and the IRL fiancés. It
This
would
would work
be
very well.
oh, it'd be so good.
And then also keep in mind, I don't think you're aware of this. Uh, this is during the pandemic era. It was Buddy with Seth, and it was against Dom and Ray. And Ray was the one who lost his eye because of, I believe, Buddy and Seth. So it's like you can even run that history back of like you literally
Yeah.
took my father's eye. Even though he hates his father currently, I still think that would bleed into it a little bit.
Yeah. Well, I mean, then you also have. I don't know if they would have ever crossed paths, but I mean, was there ever a time that Priest or Balor would have crossed paths with Aleister Black when he was NXT? Because I don't think Malachi ever made main
I
roster.
No, Malachi did make main roster. Funny
Did
enough,
he?
Malachi and Ricochet, when they made main roster, they were a tag team,
Oh,
which
that would have been
was
fun.
which was very good. But at the same time, it's like nothing against them, but it's like, what's the common ground here? Is the
Yeah.
biggest thing, and that was never really explained. But it's like they're really good. I don't know if they did. I don't know if I know for sure it wasn't an NXT because I
Yeah.
think Malachi was coming in as Balor initially left, and
Yeah.
I think Balor was in NXT when Malachi was main roster / gone.
Yeah. I would
And
love,
maybe
dude. Malachi and Balor would be so much fun. Also, but like Rhea and Julia Hart, which is the part
oh
that's
yeah, that would
because
cook. That
that's
would
the
be
thing.
really
It's a 4-person tag, so it would be the thing of if someone tags in Rhea, Julia has to tag it. Right.
yeah, and that is a size difference and a half. Is the
Yeah,
biggest thing in the world.
but that's where it becomes speed versus power, right? And I think that match would be so good.
Yeah. But this is how we wrap up night 1.
Mhm.
Right before night 2, of course, we have the weekend to play because that's
Yeah.
his fifth
God
straight
damn it.
year at WrestleMania. A fucking
Yeah, man.
the
Homeboy's undefeated. Oh my god. Hold on. You know what they need to do at some point? They
Pit
need
Boys
Bad they
shambles
need Bad
somewhere.
Bunny to come out and shit talk the weekend and be like, "You have stolen this spot from me for 4 years," and have a match at Mania that is Bad Bunny versus the weekend.
I would. I again. This is another person who, specifically Bad Bunny. He's really good. Like I understand
It's
again.
weird. Like it's
I
bizarre because it's
because I know
such a
he's a wrestling
specific skill set.
fan,
Yeah.
but I also think again and again having highly choreographed matches doesn't affect matches.
Mhm.
But I think that this is another example, like I'm pretty sure is more highly choreographed than other stuff. But he still does it so well. It does feel like it's seamless. It does feel like it's like, oh, this is actually really good.
And even on highly choreographed, that'd be tough as well because I think the last match he did would have been that Puerto Rican street fight in SummerSlam,
Yeah, you're still getting
and
hit
it's
with
like,
kendo sticks. And you're still taking like bumps on the thing. It's still
yeah,
gonna hurt.
you still
And
hit didn't because he hit Priest with a fucking Canadian destroyer at one point too,
he
and
did,
it's
yeah.
like that's not an easy thing to do.
No, you just don't. That's not day one of wrestling school.
No,
If it is,
unless you're really dumb.
unless you're really doing it, it's like you're doing like 8 or 9 hours, and it's like, hey, we reached this portion, but who's to say?
Yeah, even then, man.
Yeah. But
All
I
right.
will say, as we reach into night two, Chris's card is gonna look a little different than mine, specifically because night two is when Johnny remembers he didn't book women really for night one. So I think half of this card is women's matches. I believe I have to double check. It is. All right. So do you want to go first this time, and I'll follow second?
Yeah, I'll rock night two. So my opening match for night two, and again, this is on the idea that building into this pay per view, you mend a shit ton of fences.
That's fair.
Give me, give me the merging of Yeet and No Yeet. Give me the Usos versus the Young Bucks. Cause God, that I want that match, dude. That match is literally super kick each other for 45 minutes, and then someone will fall asleep in the ring, and that's who gets pinned. Like, I think that match would cook, dude. Be
Uh,
so much fun.
so how much time do you want to talk about that match? Because that's my second match of this card.
Oh, is that your second match?
It's my second match of
Nice.
this card.
That's so
Okay.
funny. What
Yeah,
did
we can
you
talk about.
open with then?
I opened because again, I felt bad because I was going through, and it's not that I didn't want to book women. It's the biggest thing. I just went with the big matches.
Mm-hmm.
I let off the show because I think she's been building her way back up. She's on a good platform now. She did just win the Rumble. Give me Bailey
Yeah.
because I don't think they really crossed paths while they were in WWE together. Versus which I think is one of my favorite gimmicks currently going.
Tony.
Timeless Tony Storm.
Yeah. Yeah. Bailey Tony would be fun.
And I will say, I think you could build a good match here. I just think this is more or less along the lines of just talent in terms of
Mm-hmm.
this match. I get the promos can be great. What Tony is currently doing with her gimmick is fantastic. I'm
Oh
pretty
my
sure they can
god.
make
I love it.
a many a skits about
This
this.
is
I just think this is a good match you can have.
oh yeah. This is also the most anyone on AEW has seen of Gunther or of Luther.
Yeah, which
Like
is crazy.
in like 3 years.
Yeah, because he's been with the company. He was like what was with Serpent Ser-
Serpentico.
Serpentico. Okay, that is
Yeah,
his name.
Chaos Project, baby.
Serpentico. Yeah, with Chaos Project is like that kind of just ended because they're like, hey, do you just want to go do this? And this is working for him.
Mm-hmm.
I will say this because we can talk about this more as much as I want to talk about this match. I love Bailey. I love Tony. I think Bucks versus Usos is one of the fairy tale matches that I hope comes true one day.
Yeah, that's a dream match, man.
Because super kick upon super kick upon super kick on splashes, Meltzer drivers. We're doing
Yeah. BT
hip toss,
triggers, like
doing BT triggers. We're doing Samoan drops. We're doing hip attacks in the corners.
that.
I
Hmm.
I can imagine the Bucks making fun of their own Rikishi's dad, or the Usos' dad's Rikishi, by doing
Yeah.
dance moves and then hitting things. This is a match also where I think the promos could be really good.
Hey, I'm
'Cause-
also gonna call my shot on something right now. Again,
What's up?
so I haven't watched this last week of uh, AEW stuff. I haven't watched Dynamite or Collision. I don't think the Bucks have wrestled since they came back.
As again, I don't know last week either.
Yeah.
I am positive they haven't wrestled. They've been doing a lot of backstage stuff
Yeah.
from what I've seen, but I
So
think it is
I'm
because they're being EPs, of course.
I'm calling my shot right now. Again, recorded end of January. They are gonna rename it to the EVP trigger because they stopped doing BTE.
Ooh, yeah,
I
yeah, yeah,
think they're
yeah.
gonna rename it.
My God.
You could see it too, right? They like it's going to be the setup of they're going to have probably Sting or Darby because I feel like that'll be their first match back.
Mm-hmm.
And it's literally going to be the fingers are going to go up, the crowd's going to shout it, and they're going to go, no.
Ooh.
EVP trigger, bam, and just fucking take Sting out of that match for a while.
I think if you truly want this to go the distance, which I think it will, they are EVPs in character and on the show.
Mm-hmm.
I think if you truly want to build this also as heel bucks, like true heel bucks, you beat Sting. And what I mean by that is you EVP trigger Sting, you pin Sting in his last match. Doesn't matter. He goes out on his back because that's what legends do, and you stake that as your claim for as long as you want.
Oh yeah, they'll lord that for a while. I mean, look at like the fact that Callis was so tied to the Elite. They know how to lord something over for a while. Pretty sure Callis is still talking about the fact that Takeshita beat Kenny twice in a week.
Oh, I'm positive.
And we haven't. It's just like
it is honestly surprising we haven't seen like at least for like a brief second. It's like the reason Kenny's out when he's like they're positive there. He's like okay in terms of like they can talk about it. He's like Takesha's the reason why that bum Omega or Kenny is still on the shelf and probably will never be seen in this ring again or whatever, because you could run that as long as you want.
Absolutely. I mean, look at what they're doing with Drew and Punk.
Yeah.
Right.
Drew has become a menace on social media and on TV because it wasn't on purpose, it wasn't intentional, but Punk's okay with it, so they're gonna run it.
Mm-hmm. All right. So obviously we know your match 2 of night 2.
Yeah.
My match 2 of night 2 is, I would argue, more of a comedy match than Dark Order versus Alpha Academy.
Interesting. Okay.
Give me the Acclaimed plus Daddy Ass versus the New Day, assuming Big E is healthy and wants to come back to the ring. And if Big E isn't, then you leave Billy on the side, you take Big E out, and then we get Kofi Xavier versus Caster and Bowens.
I will never get over the fact that we could build this in 2024. We could possibly build this in 2025. Billy Gunn still has a chance of being on these cards.
And the best part is not for the company you think he would be for.
Yeah. It is not like, oh, we both pick like hypothetically a legend. Like, why would you pick Billy Gunn? It's like, no, he's active. He holds a title currently in AEW.
Yeah.
Which to me is insane because he's like, I think in his 50s or whatever?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, and he's still going, and
he moves pretty good for his age, right? Like you compare, like, and I think that speaks volumes to the style of career they've had. That you have someone like Billy and someone like Sting, and like they both still move. I think Billy moves a little better than Sting does, but Sting's also done some crazy ass stuff.
They also move at the pace that I would imagine they deem necessary to like, oh yeah, you always want this, and this. I can give you that, but I'm not doing this, and this in this match because at that point I got nothing, and it's gonna look like I'm blown out, and I'm not gonna be able to do much. At all after that.
That was like I was just seeing this. I literally just watched something the other day that talked about this, where like you want to talk about somebody that like some of the stuff that you do really biting you in the ass with time is like people watched Mick Foley walk before the Hell in a Cell.
Yeah.
And after. And there is a drastic difference in those.
Which people, a lot of people assumed is like, oh, it's that's just how his character would walk. It's like,
no, you got thrown off a like almost 20-foot cage, dude. Like
I understand you're probably playing it up a bit, but there's no way that you can just after that match you recover a bit that you're not walking just a little bit sideways or a little funny.
Yeah.
Like you don't take that and just go, yeah,
we're back to normal. Not a chance.
No, because I imagine he had to probably have his hip replaced very early on in his life.
Oh yeah, probably.
Compared to other people who have had like in their like 60s or 70s, I imagine once he retired and had the opportunity to get his hip replaced, he probably did.
Yeah.
Makes no sense.
All right, on to my third match. I don't know if you have either of these people on the card. Or no, you might have mentioned one of them. I've already forgotten because my brain is mush.
No, you're fine,
match 3, because I think this match would absolutely cook. Give me Orange Cassidy versus Ricochet.
I do not have either of these people on my
Oh, there we
card.
go.
This is a good match. I'm gonna let you take the lead on this one though.
God, there's so much, right? Like the, and I think as well the build leading into it, you have such polarizing personas,
Yeah,
right? Especially with current Ricochet, who is very much in like that urge for like the viral moment to, like almost that over eagerness to get over
yeah.
versus the man who is over by doing nothing. I think
Mhm.
builds a really fun match, and because I love the idea of at some point you do that moment Ricochet's done in the past where it's the jump over the top rope and land in front of his opponent. And when
Yeah.
it hits the stare down, and then Cassidy just does like the little foot taps, like you know what I mean? Like there's so
Or
many little nuances to like the way their characters are that would be just absurd.
or you give me the moment where it's the duck under, leapfrog, everything. It's like
Hmm.
I want to see both sides of that, where it's like Ricochet does it first, flip over, roll under, everything fine, and then Cassidy goes to do it, and he does like the slow, like sloth, like roll over
Yeah,
Ricochet, and then like he goes to try and leapfrog, and he's like, he knows he can't do it, so he just like walks around him. He
yeah,
chooses like I'm gonna be the sloth-like person, but then of course, as we all know, he does have that second gear. He has that
oh
third
yeah.
gear where he just goes, and I think that would make a great match, a great build, and I think those two could do so many fun and great things because that's what he did with Osprey, and
Hmm.
Ricochet's also faced Osprey in the past, and
Yeah, I want to watch that match so badly. I've seen
it is
snippets, and I'm like, I gotta see this.
it is so fun and so entertaining. It is the infamous spot where it's like they're doing like choreographed like flips and stuff, and they do the superhero landing, and people are like that's not wrestling. I was like,
But
buddy,
it's fun as hell.
wrestling is anything that
Yeah.
involves a referee in the ring.
Hmm.
That's it. There at one
And even
point
then,
where
sometimes you don't need the ref.
yeah, and then even sometimes you don't need the ref. Like it is what it is, and you just got to deal with it. And I just think anything that brings a positive light onto wrestling is okay.
Yeah, and it is that fun line of like, yes, it's not pro wrestling, it's sports entertainment, but those are two halves of the same coin, right?
Yeah.
You don't get something this popular with one or the other. You
Hmm.
need a little bit of both. You need enough wrestling moves in a match to make it look like a fight and not a dance, but
Hmm.
you need enough sports entertainment to make it not just shitty UFC. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like
Hmm.
it's got to be that blend, I find.
Because I again, i- it's you want like you said, Ricochet would want viral moments. I think that's what wrestling wants at this point.
Hmm.
Is you want viral moments because it isn't the '90s anymore. It's not the '80s anymore. You're not gonna get the viewership that you got back then in terms of TV usage. That like it's not going to be
Yeah,
like, oh, 20 million people watch Raw this week. It's like, no, but clicks are clicks, views are views.
yeah,
YouTube matters, TikTok matters, Twitter matters. All of these interactions matter a lot because that also brings in sponsorships, that brings in
yeah.
notoriety from like talk shows and everything. It's like you want that.
Well, and
And
the
that's
other big thing as
like,
well is going back to what you said, right? Of like the illusion of this is a real fight isn't there anymore. We
yeah.
know, like, the general populace knows it's a predetermined outcome.
Yeah.
How we get there and the story that's built into that, and if you're
Hmm.
good at it, the illusion that you don't know, or the suspension of disbelief that they don't know, makes it great. Prime example. I know this shit scripted. I knew Roman wasn't going to lose to Sammy at Elimination Chamber in Montreal.
What you wanted it is the
But
biggest thing.
damn, did he get close enough to me start thinking maybe they swerved us.
Yeah.
They didn't, and I'm sad about that. But like even the fans that are like, yeah, I know it's like I can probably guess the outcome. It's fun to be wrong sometimes though,
The
right?
moment you can get that want and that need in your brain, it's like I want to see Sammy win. I want to see, the biggest wrestler in the industry lose. It's like you want it because you don't know if you're actually gonna ever gonna get it.
Yeah.
And the moment you get it, it's like, holy shit, it actually happened.
I mean,
And
another
it's
great
very cool.
example. Another great example when we watched the Rumble,
Yeah.
Cody and Punk, right? The back and forth and how everyone in that call was like worried that it was going to go one way, excited that it might go the other, and like that back and forth. And it's like,
We didn't
you
know.
wouldn't, like some of the people in that call have been watching wrestling since they were a kid, and the fact
Yeah.
that it still pulled that emotion
Hmm.
out of people that have been watching for most of their life is
Yeah.
insane.
So I will say this because we didn't really cover this at the very beginning. You've been watching at this point for I think 2 years now.
A little over 2 years. My first real introduction was watching the first year they ran the Owen Hart tournament. So yeah, about 2 years ago at this point was
And
my first Dynamite was the first quarterfinal match for the first Owen Hart tournament.
I will openly say this now. I have been watching since 1999, and that basically puts 25 years of just watching this
Mm-hmm.
on my life. I've been watching it since basically I turned 4, and I will also openly say this in 99 going to 2000. I wasn't a WWE kid. I was a WCW kid. Main
Mm-hmm.
reason, the guy who's about to wrestle his last match next month,
Yeah,
Sting. And I am very lucky, and will say this, and we can of course move on. This will be the first, and this will be the only time I ever see Sting in a live event. I'm very happy it's his
yeah,
last. It's a memory
that's
that'll
gonna
last
be
forever for me.
that's gonna be sick as hell.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay. I believe it's my turn.
yeah. Match 4, or no,
Ah,
sorry, your 3. My bad, your 3.
okay. So you had one of these lovely, lovely individuals on the card. I don't think you had the other. No, you did. You had both. You had both. You just had one in a tag match, or they both in tag matches, but different matches. Give me the current TBS champion Julia Hart versus Asuka. I think this is
Ooh,
another veteran versus
up and
young up
comer.
and comer,
Yeah,
but I think the way Julia is carrying herself currently in terms of the character and being, spooky, mysterious, and like doing all the I'm
yeah,
super evil thing against Asuka, who, for those unaware, was Kana in Stardom, who did basically the exact same thing. And do you
yeah.
remember when you talked about the buckshot spot
Mm-hmm.
where they buckshot each other? Give me a double mist spot where they both blind each
Oh,
other
I
at
didn't
one
even
point,
think about the
and
mist. Yeah.
they're just blind for a moment, and then I just want either like that one shot of either or just like finding each other, boom, and then that's the match. That's how the match ends. They
Mm-hmm.
don't actually see how it ends. It just ends because
Yeah.
like they finally find someone. I want that also because again, I like what they're doing with Julia Hart. It took forever
To
for
get
them
her
to put
over.
Julia Hart in that spot she's currently in, but she's doing great. And
She's killing it.
Asuka is Asuka.
Yeah.
Asuka's been doing it for so long, and I don't know how much longer she's going to be doing it, but I'm very happy when I see her on TV because she always excels at whatever she's given.
Yeah. So, you remember how I said you said there's not a lot of big men in wrestling?
Hmm.
Well, I took 4 of them and I threw them in a cage.
Oh my god.
Give me Wardlow. Give me Powerhouse Hobbs. Give me Brock Lesnar and Braun
Oh,
Breaker.
I don't have Brock on this card. And this is not taking him off the card. I just never had him on the card. Neither I did have Braun Breaker.
Yeah. Honestly, the only reason Braun became part of that was watching what he did in the Rumble and seeing like this dude is nuts. Like he's got that speed and strength hybrid that is just fantastic. Also learned, um, talking about the Rumble, Breaker was the one that filled in when they pulled Brock.
That I did read about that.
But that also means everything that Braun did
Was
was
supposed to be
supposed to happen to
Brock.
Brock, which means Dom was supposed to take Brock out of the Rumble,
Hmm.
which is insane to me.
I think that would have been the right move. I think that would have led to something very interesting. And I think we would have known the end result. Like,
Yeah, it's
Brock.
still wild to me.
Now, do you want to know another interesting thing? You probably saw this. The McAfee spot.
Yeah, he didn't know he was going to be in the Rumble.
He didn't know. That was all genuine reaction. I'm guessing at like near the very end, he was probably told like, "Hey, just jump out, which to me, I hate when they do that. I hate when you waste a spot. No offense, nothing against Pat McAfee, but it's like
Yeah.
that went to someone else backstage who's always want to be in the Rumble
Hmm.
or just deserves that acknowledgement from the crowd, even if it's like,
Yeah.
oh, tiny woo or a boo. They deserve that acknowledgement,
Hmm.
but it's whatever. Can't
I guess
change who
actually
they.
another body you could have thrown in this one if you want on the big meaty men match could always swap any of them out for Strowman, and it would still be terrifying.
Yeah, I don't know if he's hurt currently or
I
just
don't
not on
know where
TV.
Strowman's been either.
But it's also one of those things where if it's a talent I'm not big on or I like really, I don't think about them too much until they pop
Yeah,
back up. I'm like, oh, okay, that's
yeah.
that's
I more
fine.
bring it up on the idea of like obviously everything with Brock is kind of uncertain
Yeah,
at the moment, so it's like if Brock is removed from it, then you put Strowman in, and you still get two from both
it's
sides.
it's still the same. It's still four men trapped in a cage
Yeah,
being messed
four
with.
muscular ass monsters, just like here. This is the confinement. Fight till one of y'all is. Because the thing is, none of those guys are going for the escape clause.
No,
There's not a
the only
chance
way
any of them.
the only way someone's escaping is if they do the thing where they put them through the cage.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, oh, okay, they just ran through them, and then
Which would happen a lot in that match. I'm pretty
yeah,
sure there would be minimal cage at the end of that match.
that cage would fold in on itself because two of the walls would be taken out
Yeah.
by the end of the match. Now, I think you're going to like this next match a lot,
Okay.
and this is the only match that I am certain is a rematch from years ago.
Okay.
This is early days NXT. This
Okay.
is one Sami Zayn facing at the time Adrian Neville for the NXT
Pack.
title. I want to see, I guess probably at this point, at least maybe 8 or 9 years, a run back of these two going at it because it's been such
Ooh.
a long time
And the styles
and
have probably changed a
the
lot.
styles have changed for sure. Because Sammy does a lot of moves differently now,
Hmm.
but I think Pac would still go,
Oh yeah.
and I think it would be reminiscent. I think there would be a lot of callbacks to that match previously, and I also think it's like this is literally one of the matches that I don't think people would have seen unless you check out on the network or I guess
Hmm.
now on Peacock.
Yeah.
And I just think it would be fun, and I also again really love Death Triangle, so there's a good chance every member is going to appear on this
You know what's
card.
funny? I don't have a single member of Death Triangle, and I tried to
I
find a way to make it work.
I just think it's also one of the cooler wrestling names in terms of like a
Yeah.
tag team. Like Death
Penta
Triangle's like,
El
oh fuck
Cielo
yeah.
Mero.
It's like fuck yeah.
All right.
What about you? What are you running with?
All right. So my number 5, which God, this is a dream match for me. I think I would love to see this match, mostly because the energy going into it would be fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
Give me Becky Lynch versus Jamie Hayter.
Ooh, interesting.
I
We went a little
think
bit
Be-
of a different way.
I think Becky Hayter would be a fantastic match because they're both like, I like Becky's got a lot of years on Jamie in the grand scheme of it, at least on like, a more visualized um stage.
Yeah,
But I don't know, something about the way their styles work, I think that match would cook.
I like that match a lot. I tweaked it a little bit, but we'll talk about that when we get to it. My next match involves two scumbags. One that's a true scumbag, and one that may play up a little bit. I wanted this match just because I think I just want MJF to be really mean to this guy. I got MJF versus Logan Paul. I want the
Okay.
promos to exist because I want MJF to make this man feel just as MJF does, make them feel like there's nothing. And I also think, again, MJF is really good in the ring. He's shown like he's expressed like more wrestling ever since the whole Adam Cole storyline and everything.
Hmm.
Like, I think he'd work well with Logan Paul. And I also think, and I this is like the third time overall we've done this whole thing. Give me the diamond ring versus Logan's just pure striking ability of the double knockout.
Yeah,
Because the
Diamond Ring
fact that
versus Diamond Ring and Brass Knuckle.
Diamond ring versus brass knuckle, I'm not trying to keep doing the whole like Rocky 3 possible like freeze frame ending, but I just think it's like
It
I think that
works
would
so
work.
well though.
It works so well, and I think like MJF again and Logan Paul would be great match, great promos. It would be a whole lot of booing though,
Oh
like
yeah,
a lot. Because I don't want current MJF. I want like
you want
everyone hates
scumbag.
MJF.
You want
I
what he
want
was. You
scumbag
want what
versus
he was
scumbag.
like when he was feuding with Punk.
Yeah, I want scumbag versus scumbag.
That's actually a match that I don't have Max on this card. Actually, I do not have
Mhm.
MJF on this card. If
Yeah,
I was going to, I kind of want to run Max versus Miz, and
because we talked about this, like the
yeah,
comparisons.
yeah. Well, we were talking about that, yeah, because of like when MJF was feuding with Punk. I think the most like remembered line from their feud is "You're just a less popular Miz." So I think
Yeah,
throwing the two of them against each other would be perfect. But
it would work.
my next match actually has one of your matches from earlier mixed into it.
Oh,
I have Io and Shida, but there are tag partners here. Give me
oh,
Shida and Riho versus Io and Bailey.
ooh, I like that. I like
I
that a
th-
lot.
yeah, this was where I moved because again I had Shida Riho versus Kabuki Warriors at first, and then I
Mhm.
switched them with Stat and Willow.
This could work. This could be, I think, a highly technical, and also you would see a lot of like heavy hitting strikes, at least on EO's side, and also on like I said, on Sheeta's side as well.
I think Shida and Bailey in the ring on their own would be really really good, but adding in Io and Rio makes it really really
Yeah.
good.
Okay. Okay.
What's your number 6?
So, like I said, you know, we got Death Triangle. Uh, Give me Penta versus I don't know. Give me the King of Strong Style. Give me Penta versus Nakamura.
Cool. Penta
It-
Shinsuke.
Penta
Cool.
Shinsuke. I was like, I want a match where I think we even get an appearance where a costume change for Penta because I think it would just be fun. But I just think when I picture this match, I just see like knee strikes. I see package pile
Hmm.
drivers.
Yeah.
I see them doing a spot like I said where like Penta possibly like gets hurt and then like does the full outfit change and everything. And I just think it'd be a fun match. Like I can't specify like how this would go down truly, but I was like, "Oh, these two together would be very fun and physical, and it would just be silliness
Oh
all
yeah.
throughout the ring."
All right. So my seventh. So pre main event night 2. And this only works because of the way certain things have played out over the last couple of years. But
Mm-hmm.
I want a match that we never got out of AEW.
Mm-hmm.
I want Kenny, the best bout machine, versus the best in the world. I want
Ooh,
Kenny Punk. I added the stipulation of a last man standing match because I think that would be really fun with those two.
I like that a lot.
Because that's the thing, man, is like, they were in the company for a while and technically we did get it, but we never saw any of it because fucking brawl out. But
This is true. This is true. This altercation happened. Cameras weren't there, and someone was aware of it, but didn't really do anything.
yeah,
The biggest
but that's the
thing.
thing is I want an actual match because I don't think they ever actually on camera like kayfabe crossed paths for.
No. Well, the only instance, and I don't think this counts, would have been BTE. I think.
Yeah,
I
but
think
I'm
it's the
talking like the idea
no, 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 no.
of like
That's what I'm
the
saying.
feuds overlapping enough that they would have to deal with
Yeah,
each other. It never happened.
which is interesting because I'm surprised they just didn't like do the whole like literally like walking past each other. Maybe
Hmm.
stop, do a little stare, and then just keep walking.
Hmm.
Because it's also one of those things where like you look at Punk's time in AEW, it was a bit of time, but it wasn't like a lot of time. because
Not
he
for
did
what
spend a lot of
wrestling time is, no.
he did spend a lot of it hurt, also in
Hmm.
the title scene, and then MJF, which is a
Yeah.
lot, but also not a lot at all.
But also, that's the other big kicker. And the crazy part for me is that fact of like, you have, and part of it's because Kenny was out when it happened, but Punk Hangman, like, you're tied to somebody who is, by extension, part of the elite, even though that was not really solidified at that point in time. But you know what I mean? Like,
Hmm.
Kenny, Punk's fighting Hangman. He's still a friend despite everything.
Yeah.
Is your former tag team champ partner, and we still never had them really like cross paths. And I'm like, give me give me the match that could have been, essentially.
Give me the big one of the biggest what ifs, for, at least for current wrestling.
Yeah, 100%.
Now, I will say this: this is the semi. This is the match leading up to our main event, which we're gonna have to talk about at length because I think it's the same thing.
I guarantee it's the
Um,
same thing. I
it
think
is.
we've both told each other it's the same thing. So
Um, because again, this is a match. This is, I will say, this was one match that I had. I think this was the first women's match, but I moved it to night two because I was like, I think I like it better. Give me, because I don't think she's on your card. Give me Becky Lynch and give me Dr. Britt Baker.
yeah, I didn't have Brit. I didn't know where to put Brit in all this.
I think Britt's gotten really good on the mic. I will say
Hmm.
this. She's gotten a really great. She's fine in the ring. She's really good. There's all you can always improve as a wrestler. I will say this. I'm never gonna be like they're good, but they're garbage. You can always get better in the ring. That's the biggest thing in the world.
Hmm.
I think the promos would lead this. I think the match would be fine. I think we do get a spot where they probably both get busted open because they do both have infamous shots of
Yeah,
themselves being busted open, and it is
yeah,
their signature. Like, oh yeah, if you look at it, you know what it is, the time and place it happened.
yeah.
And I just think,
For them, it's the same thing as Mick Foley with the tooth through his lip, right? Like,
yeah,
that's their moment of that.
and I just think you could, and I don't want to see this, but I could also see it if it is. It could always be like the hypothetical for one of them say you slept your way to the top with the whole Rollins thing, or
Yeah,
either the other way around with
Rollins and
Cole.
Cole. Yeah,
But I think that would be low hanging fruit that I don't think they would touch. But who's to say?
who's
Now
to say?
I'm gonna let you lead into this, but this is probably gonna take up a bit of time. Not in a bad way, but
No. So yeah, I guarantee for sure that you and I have the exact same main event to close out night two. In
because
that,
I think if
I want it.
because because we did 15 whole matches, and I some people might be wondering, like, where's the top talent? Like, what I mean by that is, where is the biggest name in wrestling currently? One of the probably biggest names in wrestling in AEW, and
Give
where is
us, give us the head of the table. Give us. I don't know if he still goes by it, but the Monday Night Messiah, back when he had that title,
yeah
and give us the head of the Blackpool Combat Club. Give us a triple threat between the three chunks of the Shield.
yeah the
God,
fact
this match would cook with current mocks, dude.
the fact that you can go back to, I think, 2012, maybe 2011, when they randomly just showed up. I believe it was either at a TLC event, took out Ryback. I know,
Mm-hmm.
right? That's the only name. That's the only time you're probably ever going to hear his name on this. And helped out Punk of all people. And then a decade later, however much time later, they lead the industry in the longest reigning champion we're probably ever going to see in our lifetime again.
Mm-hmm.
A guy that is the workhorse for AEW. Such and such goes down, get Mox. Oh, they're down too, get Mox.
Mm-hmm.
I need a week off, Mox. We're sorry, but you got to be there, and he'll
Yeah.
be there. And then he
The,
was like, "Fuck it, you know what? I'll double down on this weekend. I'll go to New Japan and I'll have a death match. Fuck it."
yeah.
And
God.
then I think
Arguably the workhorse of Raw right now, or at least
the
up
work
until recent.
the workhorse of Raw, the guy for a very long time,
Mm-hmm.
because for a little bit of time people didn't expect Roman to be where Roman is. That was the plain and simple thing, because they tried to make him a face. It didn't work, surprisingly enough, because building faces are hard, making heels are easy. Faces are
Yeah.
like, you have to be cheered, but it's so easy unless your name is Wheeler Yuta to get booed.
Yeah, that's a name you probably will hear a lot, mostly because I have so many gripes with how they
Yeah.
book and present Yuta right now.
I,
But
I, I will say this, and we're gonna go back to the Shield. Wheeler Yuta had the highest momentum, I think, out of a lot of the roster, and they sent him off to New Japan to compete in, I think it was at the G1 Classic, right?
something like that,
Or
yeah.
something like that. I understand he probably wanted to compete in it, but if you're building him up, don't take him off TV for weeks on end, because then
Yeah,
you're not gonna care. And they didn't care when he came back.
yeah. And it's just like, there's so much with Yuta. We could probably kill an hour and a half just on
Yeah,
Wheeler Yuta, which is scary.
yeah. Because again, Wheeler Yuta hasn't been wrestling, in our eyes at least, for very long.
No.
Now, I will say this, and I don't know if we're gonna have the same, because I imagine we would have an outcome for this match. Is the biggest thing. Who would you have win? Because a lot of the matches we didn't really talk about who would win. We'd have
Yeah.
certain spots. I feel like two sides are WWE. One is AEW.
Mm-hmm.
But I think Mox and Seth would hate each other. And I think Seth and Roman hate each other. I don't know if there's like, in terms of wrestling,
Like
there's
kayfabe, if there's actually Roman
like,
Mox animosity.
there's Roman Mox animosity, because I think they've both gone their separate ways, and
Mm-hmm.
like if you were like relink them, they would probably like just. I'd imagine Mox would hate Roman for what he currently is the biggest thing,
Yeah.
because like
So, yeah, that's the tough part with if you're picking an outcome. I am operating the assumption that the head of the table has lost those titles because otherwise we know the outcome.
yeah,
Or
because
like
I
this
don't.
can't be for a title in any capacity.
No, I think here's how I would book it, and this is not specifically me wanting that winner. I just think this is how it would go. I think you have finisher after finisher after finisher.
Mm-hmm.
I think you go to repeat what basically started the rise of Seth and the scratching and clawing of Roman, and then Mox thrown off to the side a little bit. I think you repeat the greatest cash in, where
Heist of
you
the
have
century.
the heist of the century, where you have Roman and Brock, but this time it's Mox and Roman. They're beating each other, they're beating each other, they're beating each other. I think a Death Valley driver happens, and then I think a stomp happens, and I think Mox gets tossed out of the ring. I think you just pin Roman, and you have Seth win, because I think Seth would finally be able to hold over both of them until the end of time, that
Yeah.
he's the best. That he beat both of them in the same night, and even if he's a face, I think this would be something that he would want
Yeah.
more than anything in the world.
Yeah, it just changes how you present it. It's either if he's a heel, he gloats it. If he's a face, he boasts it. And there's
Yeah.
just a fine difference between how that's presented.
Hmm. And then
Now,
of course, like Roman would be furious.
oh
I
yeah.
think Mox at the end of the day would be very upset that Seth won, but I don't think it would bother him as much as it would if like Roman won. Is the biggest thing.
Yeah. So I'm gonna throw this idea out there as well. Because I think this would be a really fun spot to run. Because obviously it's a triple threat. So no DQ is fair game. Because that's,
Hmm.
as soon as you add an additional person beyond two,
It
shit's fair
becomes no
game.
disqualification. Yeah.
So you have a moment where something happens to Seth, he rolls out of the ring, and he's like, you don't see him for a couple of minutes. So
Yeah.
it is current Death Jutsu Moxley versus the head of the table for a while. And it's just the two of them wailing on each other. And at
Yeah.
some point, like Roman, I don't know if you go for the Superman punch, but you go for something that
Hmm.
staggers Mox hard, and you throw Mox out of the ring. As he's thrown out, and Roman is like throws him out and is like maybe not leaned on the ropes, but looking over it, laughing. That's when Seth comes in, and you reenact the shot from when he breaks the shield with the chair,
Oh,
the hit, the knees, and the slump.
So I am curious of how many times have you seen that clip?
T- Way more than I probably should have of someone who hasn't seen that much wrestling,
I
because a lot of those clips resurfaced when Sammy did it to
Mhm.
Roman.
I think one of my favorite parts about that moment is, of course, breaking up the Shield. But one person in the crowd, as right before it happens, you just hear them yell, "No," because it's like this is about to change wrestling history,
Yeah.
and it does.
Oh
Because
yeah.
one of the biggest factions that still gets talked about to this day, and
Hmm.
probably forever, breaks up in a dramatic fashion. Because this is, I think, the night after they beat Evolution. It's Evolution, but it's like older Randy, older Roman, not old
Yeah.
Roman, older Batista and Triple H. Is like it
Yeah.
matters, but
Yeah.
like they've won the fight and everything. But it's like Seth was always willing to sell his soul to be the top guy, and
Hmm.
that's what happens.
Yeah. I also, part of me, like, in terms of picking a winner, I almost give it to Mox, because then you keep the Roman Rollins thing as it has been, right?
Oh yeah, that's
Like,
true.
preserving that what is it? Is it Roman's never beaten Seth? Is that how it
Roman
works?
has never beaten Seth.
Yeah. So that idea of, like, let's keep that by Mox being the one. If you want to be a real dick about it, you have Mox stack Seth
Ooh,
and
yeah,
Roman.
I
You
like that
literally
a
have
lot.
just like him, like the two of them, the one boot, and and like a barbed wire bat, and you get this like like the heroic, like, like warrior king vibe.
Yeah,
I think it'd be
it it
fantastic.
it's one of those things where now that powers have shifted within other companies,
Hmm.
we're not going to go into why. Um, I think we are possibly in the realm of reality where this pay per view can happen because I feel like booking, specifically because a lot of these aren't going to be title matches, is the biggest
Yeah,
thing in the world. You're not going to cross promote and do title matches because then it'd be a whole contract thing. I think this could always happen because I think at the end of the day, it's viewed as what would make us the most amount of money.
yeah. I think I don't disagree that there isn't a possibility that this happens.
Hmm.
There need to be a few key things that happen first. Number one, AEW needs to get a little bit more, I'll say, refined. And what I mean by
Hmm.
that is the idea of you get you get a developmental brand or somewhere to develop talent,
Yeah, because they've had
and you
again.
stop working motherfuckers when they're injured, because that is a huge problem with them right now.
Okay, we're gonna go in this for just a second. I agree with you. If you're the boss and you know someone's working hurt, but they still want to work, but it's like it's a non-match, like it doesn't matter. Like say for like a Dynamite or
Hmm.
Rampage or Collision, don't let them work.
Yeah,
I
give them that
pay per
time.
views pay-per-views are gonna be more difficult,
But even
but
then, look at the first Forbidden Door. How many matches
health
changed due to injury and health?
or anything else in the world. Like
Hmm.
if it's sickness, you can't stop that.
Yeah.
Depending on what it is, maybe. But if it's like, oh, like because recently, because then this was revealed yesterday or on Monday, Kevin Owens apparently worked that match with a broken foot.
Respect.
Why? Like I respect it, but it's like
Well,
if unless
a great example from AEW, Keith Lee is pretty much
oh
out for the year on doing with
god,
surgeries, because he's been hurt since the Acclaimed beat them for the fucking tag titles at Arthur Ashe last, no, like 2022.
so that's one of those things where I want to say he didn't let them know. I want that benefit of he didn't let them know. Not that he gets a pass, not that Tony gets a pass, but if it's he didn't know or they didn't know, that's on Keith.
But I'm
But
also
if
going to raise the argument of how long did we not see Keith Lee that could
no no
have been
uh,
recovery time,
no
right?
because we've brought this up in the past. It's like the moment Keith Lee was off TV because the was Swerve taking him out. Why not
That
just have the
should have
surgery?
been when you went for surgery.
Because you're not on TV. They've taken you off of TV on purpose. to take off TV to reset
Yeah.
you and push Swerve. Be like, hey, can I be off TV? And while I'm off TV, I need a surgery.
Yeah.
And then they would have been like, yeah, of course, because like you're gonna be gone X amount of time. Just
Yeah.
get
The
taken care
other
of.
big thing that needs to happen for this to happen, other than refining the talent and the work environment, is Tony Khan needs to stop giving a shit about what's happening in WWE.
Oh, for sure.
Someone needs to
It,
just like take him off, like delete his fucking Twitter, steal his phone. I don't care. We need
I
like a year minimum where WWE does its thing and they don't take a lot of jabs,
yeah,
and AEW does the same.
yeah.
That is the only
'Cause-
way this could ever be a conversation. Because, God, I would not want to be in the room between Tony Khan and Triple H trying to book this thing.
Yeah, because
Not right now, anyways.
I will say this, and I don't know if you're going to agree with me on this. I'm not going to, at the end of the day, pick a favorite. Both
No.
have their flaws.
Mm,
Both have serious issues that they should have taken care of, but they choose not to. They choose to run talent into the ground because of injuries, and either it's talent not disclosing the injuries, or it's Tony Khan being like, "Oh, can you still go?" It's like, no. If they can't go, or if it's an injury significant enough, take them off of TV.
mm-hmm.
Plain and simple. Also, yeah, Tony Khan shouldn't be on Twitter at all.
No.
Even if it's a positivity thing, because 9 times out of 10 it's negativity. It'd be like there's someone was like, "Wow, AEW did great last night," or to be like, "Hey, Jinder Mahal hasn't done fucking nothing to you, and you're gonna run him down
Yeah.
for no
It's like,
reason."
and here's the thing, and I will openly say this and fully admit this, because for me, right, like we said earlier, I've had only 2 years watching.
Yeah,
Most of that, minus a few exceptions, is AEW. That's what got me into this. That's what got me on it. I
yeah,
am still like cognizant of the fact that it is not a perfect product. I am not part of that vocal minority that swear and live by it. I
yeah,
enjoy the product that is being put out because it is the people that got me invested into this.
yeah,
I am aware of its flaws. I am probably one of the most critical of its flaws,
yeah,
but it's still something that I love. And it goes to that argument of, is it for everybody? No. Is it
no,
good to have because it breeds better working environments for the people in the business? 150%. And I
oh,
will
yeah,
die
for
on
sure.
the hill that even if it's not for you, and as long as things are not actually like really, really fucking bad,
Hmm.
it's good to have,
Yeah, for sure.
right?
It
Because
is,
it competition breeds better results for anything.
yeah, because you look at, I want to say 2007 to like maybe like 2013.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It could be longer than that. For me personally, a lot of it's just unwatchable because I think at that point they're complacent with whatever they're putting out, whatever they put out at the time, just is like whatever.
Yeah,
Because no offense to New Japan, you were never going to competition with something in America. TNA
unfortunately
has
not. No.
never TNA has never been big enough. I am
Mm-hmm.
very happy TNA is still around because it does
Oh yeah.
breed different talent. That's where Styles came from. That's where
Mm-hmm.
Samoa Joe came from. It breeds different talent, which is fine. But it's like before AEW, there was nothing. There's the indies, but it's at the same time, it's like they don't care about the indies. They'll go and get talent from the indies, but they don't care.
Mm-hmm.
And I think AEW can be competition, should be competition, but I think it can always be viewed as friendly competition. I don't think we're not doing the Monday Night Wars anymore,
It
guys,
doesn't need to be animosity to it.
because if you look at wrestlers, talk about other wrestlers, unless they're again scumbags or assholes, most of them are friends.
Yeah, it's like unless you're getting like like the Bret Hart, was it Bret Hart Goldberg, where
Yeah,
Bret Hart just aspired, like unless you're having something like that, you want the best example in the world. Watch Kenny Omega fight Xavier Woods in Tekken or Street
yeah.
Fighter
There
constantly.
was a there was a moment I believe it was at E3 or at an Evo, and this is the only time we ever saw this, where it was the New Day and the Bucks were in the same room,
Mm-hmm.
just playing video games,
Yeah.
and they're like shit talking each other, but you can tell it's like it's animosity. They love each other, and at the end of it, it's like Omega talking about how it's like I like these guys. Hell, I would even say I love these guys
Mm-hmm.
because it's like it doesn't matter anymore
Yeah.
about you're still getting paid a lot of money to do something I imagine a lot of them love to do.
Mm-hmm.
Some wrestlers don't love wrestling. Brock Lesnar for the longest time did it for a paycheck. He still probably does it for a paycheck. And a lot of people won't talk about like wrestling is like, oh, I used to do this as a kid. No, nowadays a lot of wrestlers just like I had a background in like choreography and tumbling and like acrobatics, so I got
Or you
into it.
came from sports.
Or you came from sports. And it's like this is easy because also the scheduling has changed.
Mm-hmm.
The house shows are going away.
Yeah.
Slowly but surely, house shows are going away. So you're maybe working 2 days a week, maybe, and then you go to see your family again. You're
It's
traveling, but it's like it's not as
yeah.
bad as it used to be.
Yeah. Most of your job now is travel to X venue, perform a match, go backstage, go out, either do scrum or do signings,
Yeah,
fly home for
because
2 days, fly out the next. Like,
you're still doing scrums. You're still going to be in the gym. And you're still going to be
yeah,
practicing and training. These are going to take up days, but it's like you are not on the road as much as you were,
yeah,
unless you want to be, or unless you're trying to, like
make a name for
get your
yourself in a
make
smaller
a name for
thing.
yourself, get your foot in the door. Like I imagine, like if you're on the Indies, you're gonna have to work. You're gonna have to bust
Oh
your
yeah,
fucking ass to get noticed. Because again, there's a lot of wrestling talent out there that probably should have made it to a wrestling company by now, but
mm-hmm.
they haven't because it's so fucking deep in terms
Yeah,
of talent, in terms of venues. But again, at the end of the day, AEW and WWE are the two big ones in America,
yeah.
at least. And then you have Impact. But then you have like I can't name as many indie companies as I want to, but it's like those
I
don't have to
mean,
be those don't have to be like those can be the final stop.
yeah,
But you can go work in so many different places
yeah.
to like
It's
make
like
a name for
the
yourself.
top of the mountain in America is AEW, WWE. Your secondary tier, you have like ROH, Impact,
Yeah,
right? But then below that, you've got stuff like MLW, PWG, right? You've got, if you are willing to do Mexico, you've got AAA, right?
yeah.
Like, and
And
that's
again,
there's so much.
if you're able to get in contact with people in Japan, you can't go to New Japan. You can go to
Mm-hmm.
Japan and wrestle. It's
New Japan, All
different.
Japan, yeah, it's very
It,
different.
it's different. You're not going to get reactions like you would in like America because it's the crowd's different.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to have to hone your skills a lot better
It's
because
very
they will
much
see
more
through your,
pro wrestling versus sports entertainment.
because they will see through your bullshit if you are phoning it in.
Mm-hmm.
It's the biggest thing in the world.
Yeah. Well,
But
that wraps us right around just shy of an hour 40. So I think that's a good place to
yeah,
wrap it all down. So thank you everybody who has tuned in for the first one. We are so excited to be able to start doing this, and there's
this has been in the works for
a while.
months now because I believe if I'm again, I will take a credit. I will take credit when I can take credit for on things. This has been the brainchild of Chris, and I am just along for the ride because I was asked to be, and I was like, yeah, I could go an hour 40, hour 45 every day if needed. We're not
Yeah.
going to, but
God no,
this
I don't want to try
this
to do
is
that.
gonna be fun. We have so much in the works.
There's so many ideas that are floating around in our minds, in our notes with each other. Expect a wide variety of a lot of things. If you
Yeah,
want to
we
keep up with
will.
all of that, drop a sub, leave a like if you enjoyed. If you have any matches you would have loved to see in a Forbidden Door like this that we didn't bring up, throw them in there, like by all means, because there's so many
Also,
ways you could book something like that.
it's one of those things. If you just have questions,
Yeah.
I'll, again. There's a lot of knowledge between the two of us. We're feel free to answer any question you have.
Mm-hmm.
If it be about a wrestler, if it be about the company itself, or even just where to start. Because
Yeah.
we're not going to be the two people that are going to be like, we're just for wrestling fans. No, we want to bring in people that want to listen to us talk. We want to
100%.
bring in people that if they want to get into wrestling, they can. Or if they just want to be like, oh, this is nice to hear two people who talk about stuff they're passionate about.
Yeah.
That's what
We
we're
are
expecting on this channel.
exactly. So, yeah, thank you all for watching, and we'll see you when we make the next one.